9-year-old Angie Housman lived in St. Anne, a quiet suburb of St. Louis, Missouri. On November 18, 1993, Angie was on her way home from school. She was last seen leaving the school bus at her normal bus stop, just 8 houses from her home. Angie never made it home. Her parents called the police to report her missing. 9 days later, Angie's body was found tied to a tree by a deer hunter in a bush wildlife conservation area in St. Charles, Missouri. Investigators concluded that she was alive when she was tied to the tree and passed away due to exposure. She had also been assaulted. Investigators were able to collect DNA from duct tape found at the crime scene and from Angie's body had belonged to an unknown man. Investigators believed that the crime could be linked to similar crimes that happened in the area, but were unable to prove it. Dozens of detectives were assigned to the case. A tip line dedicated to the investigation received more than 5,000 calls in just one day from people offering information. Unfortunately, the case would go cold for many years. That was until 2019. It was then that the case was reopened. In March of 2019, a crime lab created a DNA profile for the suspect. The DNA profile was placed into CODIS. It was matched to 61-year-old Earl Webster Cox. At the time of the crime, he had family and lived just a few blocks from Angie's school. Earl had joined the Air Force in 1975, but he was dishonorably discharged after it was discovered that he assaulted 4 children in Germany. He served 8 years in prison before being paroled for some stupid reason. In August of 2020, he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Members of Angie's family appeared for the plea and sentencing. The sentencing came too late, however, for Angie's mom, who passed away in 2016 at the age of 52. Angie's brother Ron had this to say, "I was 2 when she was taken. She was a big part of my life, so to have her taken away like that was taking away my best friend." In March of 2021, Earl admitted to even more crimes for which he was sentenced 10 years. He will serve this sentence simultaneously with the life sentence. 30-year-old Diane Lukosius lived in Camden County, Missouri in 1984. She worked as a dental assistant in the area. On December 15, 1984, Diane was driving home from a party when her vehicle was run off a dark lake road in Camelot Estates in Camdenton, Missouri. An unknown man then severely beat Diane. Diane was found next to her car. She was still alive. Sadly, she would pass away 2 days later because of her injuries. It would be difficult for investigators to find the person who committed the crime, as there were no witnesses, and DNA was not advanced enough to test the DNA left behind at the crime scene. It would only be in 1989, 5 years after the crime was committed, that investigators had a person of interest. They believed Larry Gene Hicks took Diane's life. He lived in Camelot Estates at the time of the crime, but relocated to Franklin, Louisiana. His family members said that Larry came home that night late, between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., which would have been right after the attack. He had a scratch on his cheek. He also had blood on his pants. When he entered the home, he went to wash his hands and his face, something he didn't do previous evenings. The next few days, Larry was drinking more and became more violent. Investigators interviewed him, but he denied any involvement. He said that a scratch happened during a car accident. Despite investigators believing he was very much involved, they did not have enough to arrest him. On May 12, 2021, Camden County detectives traveled to Larry's home in Franklin, Louisiana to question him. This time, he admitted that he saw Diane the day she passed away. He claims he was drinking for around 10 hours that day and was very intoxicated. He remembers seeing Diane at one of the bars he had been drinking in. Larry remembered very well what happened that evening, a little too well. When asked if he took the life of Diane, he said that he cannot remember, but he hopes that he did not. A DNA sample was then taken from him. 78-year-old Larry Gene Hicks was then arrested. If convicted, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Camden County Sheriff Tony Helms said that he has been with the department since 1991, and he has seen how many thousands of hours that have gone into solving the case. He was also able to tell her family in person that an arrest has been made. Prosecutor J. Caleb Cunningham said, "This case has never left this community and has always been in the back of the minds of every person who has ever worked in justice enforcement, including me and my office. We were not going to rest because no matter what you do here, if you commit a crime, we will find you and we will charge you and spare no expense in doing that."
Are you all my personal dreams?